I know you. You're a creative professional. You've done all the hard work. You've created the finest emote. You've put the finishing touches on that panel design, or you've rendered the last frame of the video. And now it's time for the fun part. Getting paid! Sounds easy enough, right? Maybe not. I'm Commander Mitchcraft, and this is Streamer Inc., where we talk about the behind the scenes of being a content creator. And today, it's time to talk about invoicing and why knowing how to send a proper invoice and what to do with the money afterward is important to every creative business owner. Let's get down to business, shall we? Now, if you're not in a full-time business setting all of the time like I am, some of these concepts may seem a bit foreign to you, and that's okay. Let me walk you through what they all mean. But first and foremost, an invoice is a document that serves as the proof that a good or a service has been rendered to a client. An invoice contains some combination of a couple of different things. The list of who's buying the product and who's selling it, contact information for both parties, names, phone numbers, email addresses, that sort of thing. Usually there's some sort of unique number, like an invoice number, to let you know which order or product was sold, the date, so you know exactly when something was sold, the amount to be paid, and usually an itemized list of all of the services provided and the rate or cost of each service. But Mitch, you say, can't I just trust that someone is going to pay me? No. Well, let me let you in on a little something. Come here, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Sometimes getting paid is even harder than actually doing the work that you're going to be paid for. I know, it's kind of a bummer, but sometimes it involves chasing people down through direct messages, emails, and phone calls. And sometimes, even after doing all of those things, people are still going to refuse to pay you. Now, hopefully, you've taken the appropriate steps to keep this from happening, and we'll go over those steps in a future video where we talk about contracts and all that good stuff. But unfortunately, there's really not much around it. That's the risk you take for doing business. So then why bother with an invoice? Well, let's start from the top. It shows, first and foremost, that you are a legitimate business person, all right? Coming to a customer or a client with an official invoice shows that you take yourself seriously and that you want them to take you just as seriously. Now, you could just send someone an email that says, hey man, you owe me $100 for these emotes, but having an official document stating all of the different pieces of the transaction will get you, as the business owner, options and protections if something happens and worse comes to worse. Now, as you start to do more and more work as a creative professional, you're going to want a way to look through your invoices. That way you can spot trends and see which of your goods or services are bringing in the most money. A true invoicing system, and we'll talk about those in just a little bit, will allow you to see monthly and yearly trends in sales, which is useful if you want to forecast what kind of money you might be making at any given point in time. And it also gives you an opportunity to see all of your invoices at a glance, both ones that are paid and ones that have yet to be paid. And that way you can know what's going on with your business at any given moment. Finally, if you do even a moderate amount of work, you're going to have to start looking into paying taxes. And I know we talked about that last week in our last video, but everybody's got to have their share of your success. Your local governments are not exempted from that. And a good invoicing software will allow you to prepare all of those tax documents that I told you about in the last video. Link in the description below. Now, knowing you want to keep records of the work completed and knowing that you want to add legitimacy to your work, it makes sense that you want to start keeping track of your invoices. Probably not by hand, though. Now, the good news is there's a lot of services out there that'll do this for you, some that are paid, and a lot that are actually free and very useful. Before we get into that, let's talk about step 0. And we talked a little bit about this last week in the tax video as well. You want to make sure that you have a business-specific bank account. It may be very, very tempting to start throwing money into your personal account once you're making it, but having a separate business-only account will make accounting a lot easier for you. You don't have to go in and separate your business purchases from your personal purchases. Even if that account is just a pass-through for your business funds, you have a record that that money did indeed pass through there. There are 3 different options that you can choose from as far as a business-specific bank account. Chances are, if you have a bank account already, you probably bank with a local bank, and they're a great place to get a secondary account. Walk into a branch or call or chat somebody, since quarantine thing is going on. Tell them you want to open a business account. They'll let you know any documents you need, and usually you need some sort of seed money for the account. Probably about $50 to $100. And the good news is you can redirect that money back at any point in time, but it's good to have something in there just in case you need it. Whether you love it or you hate it, PayPal is a very easy way to get paid. And not only does it double as both the account and the invoicing software, it is free to be able to use all of those features. And I will say it's more like free because you do have fees that are connected every time somebody pays you that's not a family member sending you money. And PayPal's fees are some of the most expensive in the industry. But there are no upfront costs, and there's no cost to having the account, unlike some business accounts which do charge you just for the presence of having an account there. Now, I personally use a service online called Novo. There aren't any branches, everything is all done online, and there are other banking systems very similar to Novo. I have a debit card, I can pay myself out of that whenever I want, and I can even use it to make business purchases for my account. If you don't have a local bank account, and you're a little iffy on PayPal, and I know some people are, it's a very good third option, and honestly the one that I recommend personally. In fact, if you want more information, I will also leave a link to that in the description as well. Once you've got a Once you have a dedicated place to send your business revenue, it's time to choose your invoicing software. We talked about a lot of features earlier, and based on those, here are my top 3 recommendations for invoicing services. Number 1, PayPal. We mentioned it earlier, but it does have a built-in invoicing system, and if you already have a PayPal account, it's worth looking into to see if it will meet your needs. Now, I will say it's worth it more to open a second PayPal account, just so you don't have that intermingling of your business and your personal money. And if you just need it for basic invoicing needs, PayPal does have you covered, and they do everything that you need to as far as a business bank account goes. Some people don't like PayPal, and they will actually refuse to use PayPal. PayPal will take credit card payments as well, so you're not restricted to someone just using PayPal if all they have to pay with is a credit card. Second on my list is one called Wave Apps. It's my invoicing software of choice right now, and it's absolutely free other than taking some transactional payments when you are paid. And most services do that. One account will let you run multiple businesses. You can create and send your invoices. You can have your analytics at what kind of money you're making in cash flow and out cash flow, and you can also generate any of the tax documents that you need on the fly. This is the only non-free item on my list, but I have to include a personal loving shout out to FreshBooks. So a long time ago, I was doing a lot more freelance web developer business than I do now, and I had them as a paying client. I paid about $40 a month for the needs that I have. They have some cheaper plans, but I had to switch from it and downsize just because I didn't need all of the functionality that it gave me anymore. But even now, as a former customer, they still check in on me from time to time and send me messages on Twitter and make sure that everything's doing okay. In fact, when my mom passed away a couple of months ago, the CEO of FreshBooks sent me a beautiful flower arrangement. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody gets the white glove service like that, but it was nice to be remembered. And quite honestly, if I had need for them now, I probably would use FreshBooks again, just because I really like their product. Not just because of all of the other stuff either. They do have a really, really good product. And as you start to move into more advanced invoicing needs, definitely give FreshBooks a look, because it does all of the stuff that some of these other services do, but you then get the customer support and customer service that really make FreshBooks shine. There are a lot of other options. Each have their own pros and cons, but those are the 3 that I have worked with and vouch for. And hey, if you have one that you've worked with, leave me a comment down below. I'd like to hear about it. And while you're there, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And hey, ring the bell. That way you can see all of the different videos that we have here, because we're going to start having them more week to week to week. So you don't want to miss it. Now, as you create your first invoice, you need to make sure that you are including some sort of the following. And granted, if you're using an invoicing software, this will all be done for you in some form or fashion. Number one, you want to include the work that's being done. Make a short description of the work that you're doing, creating an emote set, doing web design, editing a video. Make sure that all parties know exactly what work is being covered by the invoice. You want to make sure that you have an hourly or a per project cost for the work done. If you're including an hourly budget, make sure you include the full budget as well as a cost breakdown per hour, so that people know exactly what your hourly rate is and there are no surprises later. And then include a subtotal of all of the hours worked times the hourly rate, and make sure you have all of those numbers visible and clearly marked so that people don't get confused. Most of the other things, invoice numbers, dates, all of that stuff, are going to be handled by the invoicing software. Select your client from the list of available clients. Most people will let you create several so that you can have repeating customers in your database. And then make sure you've updated and included all of the relevant contact information. That way, if you need to, you can refer to it later. Here's where it starts to get a little tricky, and here's where it starts to get more businessy, okay? Different people and different types of businesses have what's called payment terms. It's the time period in which you can pay an invoice, or where you can get a discount for paying the invoice early. There's a lot of terminology that's going to be included, but for the most part, here are some of the basics. The first one is net X, and that means that the customer is required to pay the invoice as soon as it's received up to a certain date, or they can be charged a late fee. Now, typically, the late fee is something like 30 days or 14 days, but you can set this for as long or as short as you like. So if you send someone an invoice on January 1st, they are expected to pay the invoice usually by the 14th or 15th or by the 30th. Otherwise, you can charge them a late fee for delinquency in paying your account. If you want to give people a discount for quick payment, you can do what's called a discount if paid early. It means that it's due within X number of days, but that 2% discount will be applied if it's paid within a certain amount of time. So if you wanted it to be written down, it would be 2/10 net X. So that means you could say X is 30, and they would have to pay the invoice in 30 days. But if you pay it in 10 days, you get a 2% discount. And you would be surprised what companies will do for a small discount. Now, if you're working with larger projects, it can be useful to garner buy-in from the client, and that'll make sure that they don't try to skip out on you once work has been done. Charge them a partial invoice as a deposit. Usually it's either half or a third of the final asking price before the work is begun as a non-refundable deposit. And then either when the goods or services are ready to go, or if you've hit some sort of milestone, they can pay more money and work can be completed as needed. Typically what I do for my web design clients is I do a third as a deposit, a third down once the artwork is done, and then a third before I turn over the website to the client. And that just ensures that as we're continuing down the process, they are buying into the project and I am still able to pay my bills just in case a project goes long. Finally, make sure you always add a personal note to your invoices. It's always nice to see a personal touch put on an invoice. You're a human. You're working with humans, and everything's happening between two people, even if there are businesses involved. Double check everything, make sure the information is correct as it can be, and hit the send button. Now, the good news is once you've hit the send button, most invoicing software will send out reminders to your clients automatically, either on a predetermined schedule or you can customize it to your specifications. And hey, if there's that one client that you really feel like you need to ping, usually the software will let you do that as well. And that'll help you not have to worry about chasing down your clients, at least for a little while. Some invoicing software will even add the late fee on automatically after your predetermined payment time. I know, all of this seems like a lot of hassle just to say, hey, you owe me money, right? But a legitimate invoice, once again, adds validity to the work that you do. It allows you to see trends, forecast your profits and sales. It allows you to track at a glance who owes you money, who's paid you money, which projects are going on. And it also allows you to chase down the clients who are less enthusiastic about paying you. And unfortunately, that does happen. Ultimately, and this is probably the most important, really, of the whole thing, this allows you to focus on doing what you do best, making goods and making services. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, once again, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when all of these videos go live. And hey, if you're curious about all of the business stuff going on, make sure you jump into my Twitch channel. I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. A lot of times it's game streaming, but if you want to talk business, I am down to talk business. Once again, my name's Commander Mitchcraft, and this has been Streamer Inc., where we look into the day-to-day business of being a content creator. I hope you take all of this knowledge with you and go and do what you do best. So please, go and be creative. Till next time. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no! Oh no!
Oh. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh no!
Oh no.